In just 2 months, Town Hall 14 has changed quite a bit, so this video will rank every viable Town Hall 14 attack strategy. So if you want to win more 3 stars, you want to know the best armies for any base and the worst armies to avoid them. And this tier list is based on strength, ease of use, and flexibility. Let's start with the F tier. These are the worst of the worst strategies that either get outclassed or just not worth using, mainly being the Yeti Smash, Super Go Wipe, and the P.E.K.K.A. Smash. I don't really need to say much other than they either get outclassed or they're absolutely bad. Next is the D tier. These are still relatively weak strategies, but they can be used on very specific bases. Case in point, the Clone Hydra. The Clone Hydra is a very interesting strategy. It can work, but it's way too gimmicky for it to work with any more than one clone spell. Typically, you want to have a lot of support for your dragons. So while it is kind of easy to use as a beginner Town Hall 14, it's just not nearly as strong and it's just too base dependent. Another one also in the D tier is the Skeleton Spell Inferno Dragon strategy. With the Skeleton spells and the Inferno Dragons, they're looking for a very particular kind of base, typically single target Infernos. So it does have some really nice ease of use, but it's not incredibly good on every base, and it's really not that strong over others. Next, we move into the C tier attacks. These are still fairly base dependent, and they aren't as strong as some of the others in this tier list, but we're gonna start with the Skelly Donut Lalo. The Skelly Donut Lalo, every time I mention this, it is the strongest Lalo, but it's also the hardest to use and just way too base dependent. So for a casual player, this is definitely not worth using unless you actually want to learn the Skelly Donut. Also within the C tier is, of course, the Super Witch Smash. Super Witches at Town Hall 14 kind of just don't really work, with the Town Hall Poison being a pretty big factor and them not being as tanky as like an Electro Titan. They're relatively weak unless you use it on a very specific kind of base. So it's not super strong, it's kind of easy, not really, and then it's just a little too base dependent. Another C tier attack strategy is unfortunately the Super Archer Blimp Hydra. Now, personally for me, the issue with this strategy is just it's not super strong. It's very inconsistent with its strength, because you realistically need the Grand Warden for any of that to happen. Other than that, it can be somewhat easy to use, but it's also very base dependent because you're looking for very particular things in a base for this strategy to work. And of course, we cannot forget another C tier attack strategy, the Zap Lalo. The Zap Lalo is unfortunately a strategy that you have to put here because of really how many times you're ever going to get the value for the Lalo. So it is a relatively strong army that is just a bit too base dependent and not great for casual players. Then we're moving into some of the B tier attack strategies. These are relatively good, relatively strong, and less base dependent, not nearly as much as some of the other ones. However, we're starting off with the Queen Charge Dragon Riders. This strategy honestly would be incredibly good if it wasn't for the fact that the Dragon Riders are still just a weak main troop. They're just not incredibly strong in comparison to Lavalin. So it can be quite good, but of course it's not super easy because you're looking for the same things as a Queen Charge, and it's going to be a little bit more base dependent. Another army that can be good in the B tier is the Zap Titans. Now, concerning Zap Titans, the lightning spells, while they can only go for specific things, it's alright, mostly because the Titans as a main troop are just insanely strong. So it can be used on a number of bases, not every single design, but it can be relatively easy if you understand how to use it. And of course, it's going to be somewhat strong, but not nearly as strong as other options. Another good B tier attack strategy, if you're a fan of Titans, is the Super Archer Blimp Titans. With the Super Archer Blimp Titans, this is a strategy that I've used personally. It's a very, very good army, specifically on ring bases. Any base design that has very easy movement around the base typically is weak to an army like this. Titans. The Titans are a good troop, the Super Archer Blimp is really good, but going behind walls and trying to get through them with the Titans is almost impossible. But it's very easy for newcomers, it can be relatively strong, and of course, it's just a little bit more base dependent than some other strategies in the B tier. And of course, if you want another good B tier army, look no further to the Blizzard Hydra. With the Blizzard and the Hydra, this is a very good synergy because you don't use that many spells for the Blizzard, and you have enough spells and the Grand Warden to help you push through the rest of the base. This is a very good army, it's very easy for newcomers, it's pretty good, it's pretty decently strong, and it is going to be just as base dependent as some of these in B tier, so you are looking for some specific things, but it's not too bad. Next, we move into the A tier. These are very strong and not as base dependent as other strategies below them. Of course, starting with the Queen Charge Lalo. Now, the Queen Charge Lalo is not really something I need to explain all too much. It's extremely strong. Like, that's without a given. It is very good against pretty much any base. Issue is casual players really struggle with it because there's a lot of micromanagement. So it's a really good army that casual players need to learn how to master. Another very good A tier army is, surprisingly, Electro Dragons. Electro Dragons are very interesting because realistically, they work really well against a wide variety of bases that are quite popular. You can pair them with like super minions, so they are really easy, pretty dang strong, a little bit more base dependent, but still extremely good. Another pretty strong A tier army that even surprised me is the Electro Titan Smash. The Titan Smash is honestly a strategy I completely overlooked. It's a very strong army because, one, you don't really need to worry about the enemy CC, and it is also incredibly good because of their HP. For the most part, this is a very easy army. I recommend that you use it. It's pretty dang strong, and it really works on certain bases, but it can work pretty well on the amount of bases that even Queen Charge Lalo can. If you want another option for smash attacks, also within the A tier, is the Super Bowler Smash. Now, the Super Bowler Smash is going to be here mostly because of its inconsistencies, but it's still a relatively strong army. It can work on most base types, and it's relatively easy for a smash attack. So between this and Electro Titans, you have a lot of options. And another strong army, if you're a fan of using Queen Charges, is the Queen Charge Hybrid. So with the Queen Charge Hybrid, the only issue that you have is really the Town Hall Poison, as it will completely obliterate your miners and your hog riders. So it is a relatively okay strategy for newcomers, but it is pretty strong, and it's a bit more base dependent, around the same as an Electro Dragon attack strategy, but it can still be used quite consistently. Now we move into the S tier. These are some of the best attack strategies that you can use. Case in point, the Super Archer Blimp Lalo. The Super Archer Blimp Lalo is just a fantastic strategy. You can gut a large area of the base, and then your heroes can then use another part. So it's pretty easy for newcomers into Lavaloon. And what's really nice as well is it's really strong, and you can force on any base. That's how good Super Archer Blimp is on most situations. Now, if you don't want to Lalo without any spells, another very good S tier army is the Blizzard Lalo. I really don't need to say too much about the Blizzard Lalo. It's just a consistent army, very easy to follow it up, and you have a very strong Lalo to finish it. So it is pretty alright for newcomers, but also it's really strong, and again, you can force it on pretty much any base. And of course, one of the best attack strategies, if not the best for Town Hall 14 right now, and if you don't want to Lalo, is the Super Barch attack. The Super Barch is one of those strategies that are just insanely good right now. The Super Barbarians can be used for funneling, clearing buildings inside the base and outside of it. It's really good because the Super Archer Blimp is clearing the core of the base, which means your heroes and your Super Barbarians are clearing up everything on the outside. That is why it's so good. You can pretty much use it on any base. It's very strong, and it's so easy. It is very beginner friendly. So here is each of the armies ranked from worst to best. Let me know if I missed any, and if I did, I'll rank them down below in the comments. I hope this helps you find the best attack strategy for you to get 3 stars with. Thank you to my channel members for supporting the channel. If you want to join as a channel member, click on the join icon right next to my channel name. Also, if you want to check the playlist for all of these tier lists, I check it out right here, and I'll see you there.